Today we will be solving equations by eliminating fractions. So let's take a look at our first problem. And on this problem you could keep the fractions in there, and it might be just as easy to do that, but we're going to practice this method. The method says as long as you multiply one number by a value in the equation, you multiply them all by that same value. And I'm going to multiply by a number that's going to cancel out the fraction, the denominator, and that would be 5. So you see, if I multiply every number by 5, the 5's end up canceling out. So what's left over is the numerator in this case. 1 minus x equals negative 2. And there I have just a two-step equation. So all I have to do to solve is to isolate the variable. So I'm going to take that 1 and subtract it from both sides. I'm still left with a negative x equals negative 3. So to solve from here, I need to divide by that negative 1. So when I divide by negative 1 or multiply by negative 1, I'll have my answer of x equals 3. It's the same sort of thing on this one. However, this time I need to be careful with the number I multiply by, because I want to not only cancel out the 2, but the 8 as well. So if I multiply by 2, it would not reduce the 8 to 1. So I'm going to multiply by 8. But you got to remember to multiply every number, even the ones that you don't see as fractions. So it's going to make the numbers a little bit bigger in this case, but we don't have the fraction. So what's left over for that first term is just x, 8's canceled out, minus 4. Now why is it 4? Well, 2 goes into 8 4 times. 4 and 1 make 4, equals 48. So just one step from here, and that is just to add the 4 to both sides, and we'll have our answer of x equals 52. The next one here, we have to multiply again each of the numbers by one value to cancel out the 3, the 4, and the 12. So if we multiply by 12, every single number by 12, all of those denominators will cancel. But you'll have some stuff left over. So like 3 goes into 12 4 times. You multiply across, we're left with 4x. Same thing over here. 4 goes into 12 3 times. So we multiply across, we've got 3. Over here, the 12's just cancel, so we're left with 5. So now we've got ourselves a two-step equation. To solve, we're just going to do some opposite operations. So once I do the subtraction of 3, I'm left with 4x equals 2. Now careful on this one. A lot of people want to say the answer is 2, but you're dividing 2 into 4, not 4 into 2. So you see, 4 into 2 doesn't quite go in there a full time. It just goes in 1/2 time. And that is our answer. So again, you could have just reduced the fraction by dividing by 2. So if you see the bottom number's bigger, you're left with a fraction. Over here, the same sort of thing. I'm going to multiply by 6 to cancel out all of these denominators. And when I do that, I'm left with a 5x minus 2. Again, I got 2 by doing 3 into 6 goes 2 times. And then here, this equals 15. How do I get that? Well, 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 times 5 makes 15. So now we're ready to solve that two-step equation. And all this method does is make the problem easier at this stage. However, you do have to multiply by a number to cancel out the fractions, and then do some cross-canceling to see what's left over. So we go ahead and subtract the 2 from all sides, or add the 2 to both sides, so not subtract, so let's fix that part. So this becomes now 17. So I had to add the 2 to both sides, and now we're ready to go ahead and do that division of dividing by 5. So I'm left with x equals 17/5. And you could divide 5 into 17, and we'd end up with going in there 3 times with 2 left over. So 3 and 2/5 would be the same answer. Now here's one I picked because I don't always cancel out the fractions. Sometimes it's just as easy to leave them in there. I only cancel them out if I have to add or subtract fractions, especially coming up with a common denominator. So in this case, I'm just going to move that 1 over first, and I'm left with 2/3 x equals negative 6. Now it would just be as easy, not to eliminate the fraction, but to multiply by the reciprocal, because the whole idea is to isolate the x. So you're just trying to do that the fastest way you can. So what's left over is x equals 2 goes into that negative 6. We have negative 3 times. Negative 3 and 3 make negative 9. So in the next two problems, I am going to write an equation to match the word phrase and then solve. So it says 7 less than. 7 less than means you're taking away 7 from something. Well, we're taking away 7 from twice a number. Twice means 2 times a number, like 2n. Is just means equals, and then 19. So I'm going to start with the 2n. I'm going to take away 7, and then I'm going to equal 19. So that's how I write it. And so from there, I just go ahead and solve by doing opposite operations. So I'm going to add the 7 to both sides. 2n equals, that makes 26. And then from that point, divide by the 2, and we'll have our answer. So n equals 13. Look at our next one. It says 30 increased by 5 times a number. So increased means we're going to add something to 30. 30 is the starting number. We're increasing it by 5 times a number, like n. And it is 80. So is goes with the equal sign right there. Increased is the addition sign. 5 times a number, this part right here, is right there, 5n. And so from that point, all we do is solve. So I'm going to take away that 30 from both sides. And that leaves me with this 5n equals 50. And then from that point, just need to divide by 5 and we'll have our answer. So there it is, n equals 10. Well, our next problem is a word problem that we have to write an equation for as well. So it says Jan paid $15.95 to become a member at a gym. So this is like a starting point. And so she's going to start with paying this amount. And then she paid a monthly membership fee. And her total cost for 12 months, so for 12 months, was this amount. So this is our total. And this monthly membership fee is a variable amount. It depends on the number of months. We just don't know how many months. So the question is, how much is the monthly fee? We don't know what that monthly fee is, so let's call that, how about F for fee? So let's go ahead and write our equation. We've got the 12 months times that monthly fee plus the $15.95. That's what she paid. And her total was $735.95. And that was the total. So now we're ready to solve. So we're going to just do opposite operations. We got to subtract that $15.95 from both sides. And we're left with this 12F. And it equals, and the change cancels out, so we're just left with the dollar amount here. So that's going to be 720. And so from there, the division's a whole lot easier. When I divide by 12, I remember that 12 does go into 72 evenly. It goes in there 6 times, and we have to add a 0, so $60 is that monthly fee. Well, the next one says Linda has 12 records in her collection. Okay, this is a starting point. She starts with 12 records. She adds the same number of new records to her collection each month. So when you see this word each or per, this typically tells us that we're now going to be dealing with a variable amount. And so she's adding the same number. So we just don't know what that number is. Each month she's doing this. So after 7 months, she has 26. So this is our total now. And this is what we're changing to that variable amount. So we're going to start with this 12. Well, and it says how many records does Linda add each month. So this is our variable we don't know. So let's call R. How many records we don't know. So R. But we do know the number of records. It's 7 months. We do know the number of months. 7 months times the number of records plus the amount that she started with. And then it's going to equal 26. So you see, she started with 12. She's adding some records every month, the same number. So 7 months times the number of records she adds, and it equals 26. So to solve this, we're just doing opposite operations. Subtract 12 from all sides. So now we're left with a 7R equals, this gives me 14. And then we just have one division problem to do. So we'll divide by 7, and we'll have our answer. R equals 2. So 2 records. And so the nice thing about changing the variable up a little bit to make it match what you're trying to find is it's easier to remember what it is exactly you're trying to find. R stood for records. F stood for fee. So there it is, 2 records each month. Good luck on tonight's homework.